Hello and welcome to another edition of Footballer Adda. We are into the first day of September, so that means that at least in the European context, the most of the European context, the transfer season is over, as well as also another major milestone has been achieved, which is that the UEFA Champions League and Europa League and Conference League, the teams have been finalized and the draw have been, released. Today we will be discussing on these two points, and I have, as always, with me Krishnendu. Along with him, we have Yasser Arafat from London, and we have Orgo Lahiri also to discuss on these. So, first of all, let's look at the transfer season, the silly season. It has still not ended because one of the major players, and not one of the major players, but a lot of teams, a lot of leagues are still open. Some of the free transfer window is also open. I know that at least two or three major names are there in free transfer like Adrian Rabiot, Hermoso. There are quite a few free transfer that we can talk about. Um, but overall, I wanted to understand from Krishnendu, how was it in the EPL? I'll give you some numbers. There were 296 departures and 308 arrivals, but total balance was in negative. So balance per club was around negative, a loss of around 37 million. Major transfers that I can think of: Arsenal bought Calafiori for 45 million, Mikel Merino for 32 million, David Raya for 31 million. Aston Villa got Amadou Onana for 60 million, Jan Motsen for 44 million. And then there was Bournemouth, which got Ivan Nilsson for 37. I'm just giving the highest. Ivan Nilsson for 37 million. Brentford had Igor Thiago for 33 million. Brighton bought Giorgino Rutter for 46 million. Yakuba Minte for 35 million. Max Wafer for 32 million. Chelsea will be talking since the cows come home, till the cows come home, if we start describing the Chelsea transfer. So I'm not going into that Chelsea transfer list. And then we have Everton hasn't done much. Fulham, Emil Smith Rowe for 31.8 million. Ipswich Town hasn't done much. Leicester City hasn't done much. Liverpool, Georgi Mamardashvili, goalkeeper for 30 million. You have to explain to me that logic. Manchester City hasn't done much. United, Lenny Euro, 62 million. You have to explain that also to me. Manuel Ugarte, 50 million. Amazing deal. Then Delict for 45 million. Zirkzee for 42 million. Newcastle got Lewis Hall for 33 million. Nottingham Forest got Elliot Anderson for 41 million. And then we have Southampton, which hasn't done much. And finally, Tottenham Hotspur, who got Dominic Solanke for 64 million. Oh, and West Ham got Max Killman for 47 million. Any name that I took here, anything that catches your fancy or you think that we need to talk about? And especially, I want some explanation on the 3 or 4 names that I felt that you should explain, especially given the
The Premier League transfer window can be broken into two parts. First was the transfer window that we had until June 30. There were a number of clubs: Newcastle, Nottingham Forest, Chelsea, Aston Villa. They made a lot of deals between themselves to make sure that they can balance their books. So a lot of young players were sold between themselves. For example, Newcastle sold Elliot Anderson to Nottingham Forest for 35 million on the condition, on Nottingham Forest's condition, that they will buy the goalkeeper called Blechi Dadamos, who is well, nobody knows why anyone will pay 20 million for him, but that was the condition for Forest had for Newcastle. In the same way, Chelsea sold a few young players to Villa. Chelsea bought a few young players from Villa. So basically, they were balancing their books. That was until June 30. After that, a number of clubs made a number of deals that you can question the prices, you can question the question, you can even question the reason to buy them. For example, in like that were 75 midfielders that Chelsea signed. I have no idea why. They kept buying defenders. They gave Nicholas Jackson a 9-year contract today. Today they gave Nicholas Jackson a 9-year contract. The Chelsea's transfer window, they needed a striker at the start of the window. They still need a striker. They haven't signed a striker. They tried for Ivan Toney. They tried for Victor Osimhen. But again, towards the end of the window, they for some reason they made a huge. Every Manchester United fan and Manchester United, there are people who look at the numbers. They will be very thankful for Chelsea for paying 10 million euro, 10 million pound loan fee and 25 million pound option obligation to buy for Jadon Sancho, because we were kind of resigned to the fact that we have to sell Sancho for a loss, but apparently we will make around 5 million profit on Sancho at the end of it. Chelsea's transfer window. You asked about Lenny Euro. If you look at the market, a lot of people are spending a lot of money on potential, young potential. 18-year-olds. For example, João Neves. João Neves went for 75 million. Nobody talks about it. This is a 19-year-old midfielder. He had won the last season. That was his first season at Benfica, and he was very good. But he went for 75 million. And that was the price that PSG were prepared to pay. Bayern Munich were prepared to pay. Lenny Euro was the most wanted young defender in European football. United were prepared to pay that money. Others were not. So a lot of young players are being bought for a lot of money because big clubs right now are paying for potential, because they know for 5 years down the line, if Lenny Euro develops the way he has developed, he would cost around 100 million, 100 to 120 million, and that would be beyond our reach. So this is the time. If we had to get Lenny Euro, we had to get him now, because if he went to Real Madrid, we wouldn't have signed him ever. Maybe when he turned 30 with 10 injuries, we might have signed. So yeah, that's Lenny Euro's day. But if you look at I think most big clubs in England did well. They signed the players that they needed, except Chelsea. Of course, Chelsea is a misnomer. But if you look at Liverpool, okay, Mamardashvili was signed for 30 million, but he was signed for next season. So they're basically planning for Alisson's departure next year. I think it's a good deal. I do not understand why Liverpool signed Federico Chiesa. That is the part I don't understand. He was a good player 3 years ago. Then number of injuries, his form has dipped. There are question marks over his overall ability to play in a system. So that is something I do not understand. But yeah, Liverpool needed a number 6. They didn't sign one. But it's better not to sign a random number 6 than they wanted Zubimendi. It didn't happen. But I think Liverpool did well. Arsenal had a good window. Arsenal, I still think they needed a striker. They could have done with a striker, but they didn't sign one. Raheem Sterling, I think it will turn out to be a good deal. 1-year loan experience, Premier League winning experience. He will provide quality backup to Saka, because towards the end of the season, last 2 years, Saka's form dipped because he was overplayed. So it's a good deal for Arsenal. Most top clubs in England did well, apart from Chelsea.
Okay, let's focus on some of the Arsenal deals. Lahiri, what do you make of Calafiori, who was a breakout star in the Bologna team, but we are still, somewhat hesitant to call him a finished product, because he has only had one season where he has shown, and we do not know how much of it was down to Thiago Motta's defensive skill set of organizing his team, and how much was down to just
No, Arsenal under Mikel Arteta improved a lot in their defensive unit. I mean, amazingly, Arsenal's defensive performance was much better than their attacking performance. Though it is reflected in a other way in many forums, but the data says that Arsenal defensively uh, did much better in last 2 seasons than their attacking form or whatever. In that context, Arteta's team is very good in as a defensive unit. I mean, from goalkeeper, then back four, and then central midfield positions. So, with Thiago Motta's skills and everything for their his defensive acumen as a coach or manager, I don't think it would be much of a problem to integrate Calafiori in this system and make him work. My only concern was that he plays left side, and left side there are already Timber, who was brought last season with a good amount of money. Uh, Zinchenko brought last to last season with a good amount of money. Both these two players have a tendency, kind of a, or I would say they also have a knack to cut inside and play as a midfielder when uh, Arteta system create that four man's midfield box. Um, so in that system, Calafiori as a left side defender or left back, it is a very good inclusion in the sense. I doubt that Zinchenko going forward might play more of a midfielder role rather than a defender role, and might be sold later on, perhaps in the next season. Calafiori, if he doesn't fail terribly, he will be there along with Timber. Other side, Raya already was the number one goalkeeper last year. Contract was such a way about that loan that he will stay and then he will be bought. Then he was bought. Marino is a tremendously surprising inclusion. I mean, it was, yes, there were rumors. There were rumors about many players, but I really didn't expect that he will be bought on. Though now he has a shoulder injury and may not play in next 2 months. I think around. Starling, he said, Krishnendu already said that he is a very good signing. The reason being, Arsenal already did similar kind of a signing in past 1 or 2 seasons, especially in the winter window itself. Trossard and Jorginho were that kind of a signing who had a very short contract, but both of them were really phenomenal. And Trossard already perhaps the best super sub in the league itself. Uh, Krishnendu was right. Saka's form dips end of the season, and Starling there could be a good inclusion. Jesus Gabriel Jesus always now have a recurring injury. Starling can fill in that gap also, especially when Nketiah already now in another club. So overall, that's a good signing. Other Premier League signing, Chelsea's signing is as similar as last year and as similar as last to last year. That means terrible. So I don't expect they will do tremendously good now under even a new manager. It will be a good old story. And Boyle is that kind of a person who likes to spend a lot of match. I think he has given around 500 years of contract to everybody. Let's see how it happens for 500 years of contract and Chelsea.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's shift league and come to Serie A. For the uh, in Serie A, I feel that the team which has strengthened the most has been Juventus. They have got themselves a completely new midfield. But the only thing is that of that midfield, so they have got Coop Miners for 54 million, Douglas Lewis for 51 million, Keprin Thuran for 20.6 million. But the Douglas Lewis, there is an interesting bit, and this is just because this is Juventus. I need to mention this. In the Douglas Lewis deal, they valued Douglas Lewis around 75 million or something like that. And they sold Samuel Illing Jr. to Aston Villa for 14
And
million
Valencia.
and Enzo Barrenechea for 8 million. So 14 plus 8,
And both were
22.
loaned back to Italy.
And both loaned back. One to
Both were
Serie
loaned
A,
back. It was
one to Serie A, one
it
to
was
La Liga. So
Aston Villa had no interest in buying those two players. They just wanted them because of the PSR thing. Just FFP control.
So,
that's the only thing they wanted. That's it.
yeah, so my question to you first question is that did Juventus make the maximum among all the teams with the transfer window? And what do you call this creative you know
Accounting.
creative
Creative
accounting
accounting.
that
Okay.
you all accuse Juventus
Okay.
of?
First of all, thanks for inviting me. I'm giving another interesting information. Maybe you already know. One of the board members of Aston Villa is part of Exor management as well. And as you
Okay.
know, Exor is the property of Juventus. Like Exor
Yeah.
owns 69% of the club. So you know what happens in this kind of cases. I think the scenario that you just pictured, it was made behind the screen. And I don't know, like I think in this kind of cases, like UEFA has to intervene and they have to make some investigation because obviously Douglas Lewis is not worthy of that price, and Arling Jr. and Barrenechea, they also don't, they are not worth of that. They have been tagged. Anyway, we all know what happened. If you talk about transfer market of Serie A, I would say I agree with you. I think Juventus was the queen of transfer market in Serie A. Not only midfield, they have changed. I think in any transfer market, you have to consider from coach. Last season, with Simone Inzaghi, I think Thiago Motta was the best coach of Italian football last season, and they signed Thiago Motta. So they started from head, and they changed the whole team. They made the revolution compared to Allegri's Juventus. But still, I think still there is a gap between Inter and Juventus. I think Inter is still ahead of Juventus. But Juventus definitely after this transfer market, they spent almost 200 million euro, if I'm not wrong. So with this transfer, they recovered that gap, but not fully. I think still with Inter there is a little gap between two squads. Only because Inter is a solid team, it's already organized team. They didn't change anything, and Dada, I think you will agree with me. In this area, because we don't have the economical power as in past. So currently, if we can maintain or if we can keep all our best players, I think it's already a good transfer. So, for example, Inter, they didn't sign any big names, any new players. The only
Oh, Zielinski,
yeah, no, I'm
Mkhitaryan.
coming here. Yeah, no, I'm coming here. Like, okay, yeah, but we signed them, but it was with free transfer. You know, this transfer was done already in January. So I'm talking like in this summer transfer market, we just signed two players, goalkeeper. He will as a second goalkeeper, but next season he will be our first goalkeeper, and the defender who came last day of the transfer market. So I was saying that didn't revolutionize, like didn't change a lot, but they kept all the best players, and this is already a good sign, I think. But Juventus definitely with this transfer, they recovered the 23 points gap we had last season. I think there is still a little gap, maybe 4 or 5 points gap, but not definitely 23 points like last season. Do you want me to speak about AC Milan?
No, you can talk about the league in general, but okay. I want to talk about. I want your opinion on Atalanta's transfer market. Atalanta and Roma. Atalanta had bought Matteo Retegui for 22 million, Charles De Ketelaere for 22 million, Raul Bellanova for 20 million. They also got Nicolo Zaniolo back from Galatasaray. And then if I talk about Roma got Artem Dovvik, who was the leading goal scorer of La Liga from Girona for 30 million. Matthias Sule for 25 million.
37 million, I think.
and
37 million.
and they retained Dybala. Okay. And they also got Enzo Lefebvre for 23 million. I want to, and on the last day they got Manu Kone on a loan transfer with something, and they got also Alexis. So I want you to talk about Roma and Atalanta.
Yesterday night they signed also Hermoso.
Hermoso, yes.
As free transfer. Yeah, Roma, as you said, they signed so many new players, but you have to see how they will play, they will perform, because as we have already talked about Dovvik, I don't know if he's a kind of one like those kind of players that will perform in one season wonder, we say. Because I saw him in these first two matches, and sincerely, I didn't like that much. It's like I have a sensation that he can be a one-season wonder man. But let's see. Roma. Okay, first of all, Dada, after a long time, this year we saw a lot of the Italian teams spending this much money on transfer market, because if we consider last 3-4 years, especially after COVID, not many teams they spent not a lot of money for transfer. But after COVID, this is the first time that we can see Napoli, Atalanta, Roma, Juventus, even AC Milan, Fiorentina as well. All these teams spending a huge amount of money on transfer. But I think the team who built the most competitive team was Juventus. About Atalanta, to be sincere, I didn't like that much their transfer policy this year. Usually, Atalanta is always a role model in Italy. They showed us how to sell a player and how to replace them with cheap prices. But this year, I didn't like that much their transfer market. First of all, because they signed a lot of players, but not that much quality players. Like they got a lot of quantity, but not that much quality. I think Atalanta, after the winning of Europa League, they should have just kept the same team that won the Europa League, but they sold Coupe Miners. They knew that Coupe Miners wanted to leave, so Atalanta should have already signed someone else to replace him. But I didn't see anyone who can replace Coupe Miners. Zaniolo, he was in Galatasaray, and last 2-3 seasons has done nothing almost. Retegui, I think he just scored 7 goals last season. We are not talking about world-class striker, and has been paid 24 million euro, which is a lot of money considering Italian market. Of course, in Premier League, 24.
What do you make of Federico Chiesa's move to Liverpool?
I think Juventus was the winner, because they had to sell with any price. If Liverpool waited, I'm sure on last day of the transfer market they would have sold him even with 5 million euro. But Chiesa, in Liverpool, sincerely, I don't see him doing very great, because after the injury he has lost his pace, and he's not technically very qualityful player. All his quality was strength, power, and pace, and all these things he has lost after the injury. He's not technically finest player. You know what I mean? Like, he's not a classic number 10. Or to play his game, he needs space, which he has lost after the injury. So, and Premier League, the football is so fast and so physical. I don't know if he can even play on starting 11. It will be very hard.
Right.
I think Atalanta really wanted Matt O'Reilly to replace Copiners. They made like around 4 bids to Celtic, but but at the end of the day, Brighton paid them the most money to get him. So Atalanta had a plan to replace Copiners, but the problem was they didn't get the man that they really wanted.
Yeah.
The Matt O'Reilly is the one they wanted, but Brighton basically paid more money.
Yeah, we have to talk about Napoli Osimhen situation. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Napoli has what another day to sort out Osimhen's transfer to Saudi Arabia. Tomorrow the Saudi Arabia window closes, but Saudi apparently they have already signed Ivan Toney from Brentford. So that is a situation that is very messy because Napoli's spending is dependent on selling Osimhen. So basically, Napoli will pay for this later if they can't sell.
Right.
And this is what happens when you get an Antonio Conte. Like
Okay. Okay.
different kinds.
Okay.
And last thing about AC Milan, Dada, I think AC Milan did the biggest mistake signing Fonseca as their coach.
I
I
agree
think
with
I have already mentioned about this in the last in our last live.
I agree, and we might go back to a situation where one of our former coaches, Allegri or even Pioli, comes back in the next, one or two after one or two matches. But anyway, we are not talking about the results here. We are more talking about the transfer season. Before we go on to the UFS UCL, I just want to touch upon two clubs, or rather three clubs. Atletico de Madrid, under the stewardship of Diego Simeone, has bought Julian Alvarez for 75 million, Conor Gallagher for 42 million, Alexander Sorloth for 32 million, all strikers or attacking midfielders, and one defender, which is Robin Lenormand. This would, I would think, on any other day, make them the, champion, the favorites for champion.
Correct.
Only for Real Madrid to get one Kylian Mbappe for free transfer and Endrick for 47.5 million. Before I come to Krishnendu on the Kylian Mbappe question, any thoughts from you, Lahiri?
On Kylian Mbappe. I mean, this is amazing, right? So, last two great transfers, one of Kylian Mbappe and one of Haaland 2 3 years back. I mean, that was nothing was a big transfer. I mean, no, Haaland was I think 55. Kylian Mbappe is free. We know what happens back of everything and the agent fee and everything, blah blah. But but when you see everything overall with that price tag and the chart and you sort it out with the highest bid player and etc. Kylian Mbappe will not be there. Not like Ronaldo, who was sold around 80 million pounds around such a long back. Uh, this is crazy that they got it as a free transfer. Uh, I have a doubt now. I mean, again, that's a dare doubt, wide guess that Kylian Mbappe will be that Kylian Mbappe in La Liga, what he was in there in the Ligue 1.
Okay, Krishnendu, one word on the La Liga situation, and then we'll talk about Bayern Munich. We'll come back to Krishnendu later.
Krishnan,
I think we'll come back to Krishnendu.
okay.
Let's talk about the Bayern Munich situation now. Bayern Munich has for the first time in over a decade is not the defending champion of Bundesliga. So they have went on to get a manager, Vincent Company, who is less than 40 years old. And they have got on Vincent Company's recommendation, they've got Michael Olise for 53 million, Joao Palhina for 51 million, Hiroki Ito for 23 million, Brian Zaragoza, and there are a lot of others. First, I will take an opinion from you, Lahiri, and then we'll go to
You just say compare Bayern Munich with Atletico de Madrid, right? What Atletico de Madrid is kind of a spending you expect from City, PSG, and etc. And what Bayern have done, you expect somewhere, don't know, perhaps a middle club side from the Serie A or Premier League, and the manager of what they have signed played, I mean, was the manager of a club in a top tier of football anywhere for one season and then again relegated. So I don't know, they have perhaps bought a lot of thing in the stock market for a very low price and then expect to get a gain at the year end time. Very risky share market deal this.
I think Olise is a wonderful sign. Only say I think I'm a big fan of Michael Olise. The wonderful sign. Joao Palina is a very limited defensive midfielder. If Bayern is just looking for someone who is going to tackle and win the ball and pass to the man beside him, Palina is that guy. But if you are looking for a modern number 6, Palina is everything but a modern. I want to talk about two more clubs that might have escaped all of us attention, especially given the finances of that. We expect PSG to spend money every summer because they have money. Lyon has spent 145 million this year, Olympic Lyon. And Marseille has spent close to 100 million. And this is unprecedented because the TV deal in France has crashed, completely crashed. They are making a last minute TV deal for a very low price. So where Marseille and Lyon are getting the money from is beyond me. Maybe they have actually found that lost treasure of Monte Cristo. Because I don't know where they're getting the money from.
Okay. Before we let Lahiri go, any last words from Arafat Dada on the Real Madrid Mbappe situation and on Bayern Munich?
About Real Madrid situation, when they signed Kylian Mbappe, I thought they might sell one between Rodrigo or Vinicius Junior. I expected more Rodrigos to be sold, but I was very surprised that they kept all of those big stars. And as we know, we saw Kylian Mbappe playing almost for 5-6 years now, and he was never a proper striker, proper center forward, proper number 9. He's very atypical striker who prefers to start his game from left wing and then come to center. Similar to Cristiano Ronaldo, when Cristiano Ronaldo was young, obviously. But we know that in that position, they already have the best player for that position, who is Vinicius Junior. So if you saw recently Real Madrid's recent matches, like so many actions, they start from left side, and like Vinicius and Mbappe, I don't see them playing good in that position because they both cover the same area of the ground. So now it's Ancelotti's duty to manage it, to how cooperate with this kind of two superstars, two mega stars. I think in this moment, if you consider like 3 best players of the world, 2 of these 3 are Mbappe and Vinicius, and these 2 players play in similar positions. So I think it will be very hard for Ancelotti to, and you cannot bench any of those. You have to play with both these 2 players. So Ancelotti does not have a very easy task to make the chemistry between them. Let's see how it proceeds. The season didn't start very well. In La Liga, they already lost 4 points. So let's see. About Bayern München, the only thing I didn't like about Bayern München this year is the coach decision. I think Bayern should have signed a typical German coach. In Germany, in Bundesliga, you have so many great coaches. They had so many options. I think the decision to sign a company was very bad. And I was watching one of the Bayern München videos in social media, and I saw that company was talking with the players, was talking in English. Okay, in Premier League, this is normal because it's English spoken country. Or even from India, for you guys, it might sound normal that in a club, one coach is talking in English. But I know the German culture. In Germany, if you talk in English, if you speak in English, it's like they get offended. Like if you live in Germany, you have to speak in German. And Bayern München always has been the role model of German football. There are so many German players still now. It's not a typical English club or international. Like Bayern München, of course, is an international club, but they have German DNA. So a coach who speaks in English in training ground is does not sound nice related to Bayern Munich.
Right.
Bayern did want other coaches. Vincent Company is probably a 10th choice. Nagelsmann rejected them.
That's
Tuchel
true.
rejected them. They're like five. I can name 7, 8 managers who basically rejected by going to Bayern this year.
I didn't
This is
understand
like
why
a
did
10th.
they reject. Like everyone should have like as a dream to coach a club like Bayern Munich. Why all these coaches have rejected?
Bayern in the last couple of seasons have turned into a very mismanaged team. Nobody is sure who is in power. There's a lot of backbiting going on in the boardroom. So a lot of managers didn't want to go there.
Right.
Just to add on one point on Arafat, is that the only person in modern football who is capable to handle that Vinicius and Mbappe situation is
It's
Ancelotti.
Ancelotti.
Yeah, that's true.
And if anybody can do that, it's Ancelotti, and I believe he will do that because he has been doing it for a lot of them. He is the person. Another might be the player manager whom I do not like at all is the Jose Mourinho, who could have handled this situation or mishandled completely this situations. But Ancelotti is the person who can handle it quite well.
Before you leave, I know, Lahiri, one final question that I wanted to ask is Ivan Toney's move to Saudi Arabia for 42 million. How do you see that?
Before Larry question, if you are offered 5 times, sorry, Ivan Toney is earning £20,000 per week in Brentford. In Saudi, he has
Brentford.
been offered 400,000. That's 20 times. If you are offered 20 times your salary, you will like walk away from your company tomorrow morning.
And it is money which is calling a lot of players from Europe to Saudi. There is no doubt on that. It happens for one or two clubs in Europe, like Anzi Makashakla, where you don't have anything at all. Your training ground from stadium was that maybe 300 kilometers away from each other. Still, people went there because of money. People went to China because of money. A lot of people in their peak even. Uh, it is happening for Saudi. Nothing surprising. A lot of people even returning nowadays also.
Yes, a lot of people
And
are.
Ivan Toney is 20. And Ivan Toney is 29 years old. It's his last big contract.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's not surprising at all.
Another player was moved as Joao Cancelo from Man City. I mean, I don't know how they keep on Man City, keep on getting these kind of deals. But you talked about people who are returning from Saudi Arabia. One of the names that I saw is Alan Saint Maximin. He has gone to from Saudi, has gone
Turkey.
to Fenerbahce. Fenerbahce is managed by Mourinho, by the way. So
Mourinho.
yeah, so that's one deal we'll be looking for. And then there are others like there is Sabiri has come to Fiorentina.
Okay, Saint Maximin was a accounting deal last year. He was bought by one of the by a PIF club from Newcastle, who are owned by PIF because Newcastle needed to balance the books. It's not like Saint Maximin wanted to go to Saudi. It was an accounting deal from last.
And Jota has gone to Stade Rennais. Jota, who
Played for
was
Celtic.
yeah. So Jota has gone to
Yeah.
Stade Rennais.
Stade Rennais.
So there are quite a few people who are coming. Lisandro Lopez, centre back, has now gone to Spain. So there are a few such changes. The Saudi market is still open till 2nd of September. How do you see any names? I know one of the names that I'm thinking about is Ismail Benacer from AC Milan. He's, they're thinking of pushing him to Saudi. Are there any other names that we should be looking around for going to Saudi still?
You should take a look at Newcastle. Newcastle might want to sell Miguel Almiron. It's one deal that can happen. You can look at Chelsea might move on a few players to Saudi. They have 40 players in their squad right now. So they might want to move a few to Saudi. So there are options. I think Victor Osimhen's Napoli's season is depending on Victor Osimhen move to Saudi.
Okay. So Lahiri has departed us, but we will be focusing on the second part of our topic, which is the UCL. And in trying to ensure that all the clubs stay together, we have created a very complicated differential calculus, integral calculus kind of a tournament where teams are playing more matches and there are no groups. I do not know who is playing whom to understand who needs to qualify by how much. I only know that Milan will be playing Real Madrid as well as Liverpool. There are 36 teams that are in here, and out of those 36 teams, we have teams like Sturm Graz from Austria. We have Sparta Prague. We have Slovan Bratislava. We have Red Star Belgrade. We have Dynamo Zagreb. So a lot of clubs which are of the less heralded, but probably uh, pretty highly decorated in their own country. Shakhtar Donetsk is there. There are 5 teams from Germany and 5 teams from Italy. Um,
Red
Chris-
Star Belgrade has won more European Cups than so-called big clubs like Arsenal. So let's not talk about small clubs and less heralded. Sorry. Arsenal fan has departed, so I can talk about it.
okay. So Red Star Belgrade, Slovan Bratislava, Sparta Prague.
All European Cup winning teams.
Yeah, all European Cup winning teams. So what do you make of? First, I want to hear from you, Krishnendu, and then I will ask Arafat to chime in. What do you make
I
of?
have no idea how the format is going to work. As far as I know, 16 top teams will qualify for the second round.
No,
That's
no,
the only
no,
thing I
no.
know.
You're wrong.
No.
No?
No,
Top eight.
let
Top
me,
eight.
let me, let me. I have understood that part. Top eight
Okay.
teams will qualify. Okay, so
Okay.
there are now 36 teams. Okay, out of those 36 teams, top 8 teams will qualify directly for the knockout round.
And then there's a playoff.
16 teams, which means that 1 to 24 have a chance. So remaining 16 teams will play against each other. So
Playoff.
playoff to create the next set of 8 teams. So basically, out of the first group stage round where each team plays 8 matches against, I don't know how they have done that. Only 12 teams will go out. Okay.
Okay.
So,
That's interesting.
so
I think it's it basically this is how UEFA is going to make money. So let's not say they have created this whole thing because they want better football. It's not. 3 more matches already. The professional footballers association are going to take FIFA to court for the FIFA World Cup. So for the FIFA Club World Cup that they're planning for next year. So this is adding more matches. Um, I think the quality of the tournament will drop. I've always said when you increase teams in a tournament, you're basically going to drop the quality of the tournament. And of course, we are getting more big matches, apparently big matches in the group stages. But at what cost? We are going to tire out players much far. We will be playing group stage football until January. Even in January, there will be group stage football. The European competition used to take a rest from from December to February. There is no rest period for European competition. We're going to be constantly playing football. Then you have league matches, cup matches. So the quality of the football will drop definitely in this year's Champions League. Even in the Europa League, same format. So yeah, I'm not sure what are we going to gain out of this.
Arafat, your take on this?
I love this new formula. I love it because, first of all, in every match day, we have so many big matches, big clashes. Second, previously in group stage, like with the previous format, we had many times we saw one super giant team in a very easy group. So already before the Champions League started, you already knew who is going to qualify for round of 16. Like now, for example, I remember Man City's case. Man City in recent times they always had like easy group stage. After 3 matches, you already know who is already qualified. Last 2 or 3 matches, you didn't have any excitement at all, except 2-3 groups. Like you always like with the previous format, we always had 1 or 2 group of death, and all other groups it was very easy to predict, very predictable, not many big matches. So it was a kind of not very exciting. But with this new format, even the last match will be exciting, and every team will try to score as much goal as they can, because every single goal will count to determine if they are on top eight. And teams, of course, will do everything to get that top eight spots to not for not playing two more matches, because the calendar is already very congested, as previously said. Um, and every team will try to be on top eight, so scoring as much as goal as they can, to not play for not playing the playoff. And also, what does that mean? This means that they will fight, they will play at their best until the last match. This is the good side. The negative side, of course, the number of games. They have to play more matches. They have to play Champions League. Even in January, if I'm not wrong, there are two matches of Champions League, which never happened. In this case, the only solution that I'm thinking about is they have to move the international break. Instead of like, for example, now this next 2 weeks we already have international break, the first international break, or last international break of the year. So what we can do is leaving this space, like the whole 9 months or 8 months, whatever, 8 or 9 months for club football. They play continuously, and the international break, instead of making like in middle of the season, they put like you can say a tournament. It's not a tournament, like all the friendly matches or all these kind of matches they can play end of the season, so players will be fresh. Also, even also the national team, the coaches, they have more time to implement their system. I think that might be a solution, but of course, in this case, currently, the teams who have more bench depth, they will take the benefit from this format, of course. Small teams, they will struggle. I think UEFA made this format thinking about the big teams, because big teams wanted to make the Super League, and UEFA, of course, made a kind of compromise with the big teams. So this format was designed to favor big teams, because who have two squads in their team. So definitely, but I love the format, how it's made, especially because we can see like big matches every match day. Like, for example, I support Inter Milan, and I have Man City, Arsenal, Leverkusen, Leipzig. Like, I think every football fan would love to see this kind of matches instead of, I don't know, Inter versus Young Boys.
Okay, so let me try and explain some of the basics of this draw. So what they have done is that they have done away with the manual draw. So we will never see, Francesco Totti drawing, Real Madrid and Juventus and giving that smile that he gave. We'll never see that. It is all down to our software, which is going to do that. We will never
With AI.
we will never see the software developed by Ernst and Young. We will never see something called a group of death anymore. So 36 teams have been divided into 4 pots according to their UEFA coefficient ranking. And so 4 pots of 9 teams each, and each team from each pot will be playing 2 teams from each pot. So a team which is in pot 1 will play 2 teams from pot 1, 2 teams from pot 2, 2 teams from pot 3, 2 teams from pot 4. So that's how the 8 games will come up. And then the other thing is that no team can play a team from its own league. So 2 Italian teams cannot play each other. 2 Spanish teams cannot play each other. Thirdly, a team can only play 2 teams of a particular league in a group phase. So Liverpool is playing Bologna and AC Milan this is the two teams from Italy that Liverpool is playing. They are not playing the three other teams. Similarly, Real Madrid is playing, I think, Atalanta and AC Milan. So each team can only play two teams from any of the other groups, and also in that order. So these are some of the fascinations that are there. Like we explained, top 8 teams automatically qualify. 9 to 24 plays a knockout between each other, and then it gives you the remaining 8 teams, which will then play the first knockout round with the top 8 teams. Till now, anybody who doesn't qualify for the knockout, they do not go into the UEFA or the conference leagues. They just go out of the tournament. So that's about um, the UCL, new UCL, or the new draw that is there. How do you rate Inter's chances in this new format?
Last season we did not focus on Champions League. In group stage, I remember we didn't even play with our best 11 any single match. Like in every match, we played with our. We made rotation. We played with secondary players. Because the main focus was with the Scudetto, because that would have been the Scudetto of 2 stars. So every focus was on league. But this year, I see even like Marotta was talking about Champions League. It's Simone Inzaghi always preferred this cup tournaments over league tournaments. We know this by fact from his career. So this year we already won the Scudetto. Now I hope Inter will have more focus on Champions League, and not like last year. And if we focus on Champions League, if we Inter play as Inter can play, I think in last season, and even in the starting of this season, I don't know if you watched the match against Atalanta. So the last season, the way we played in Serie A, it was fantastic football. In my lifetime, I have never seen Inter playing this much entertaining football. So if Inter can play the way we are able to play, we should finish on top 8. And I'm very hopeful about this Champions League. Of course, I'm not saying we will win the Champions League. Of course, there are some teams much bigger than us: Man City, Real Madrid, even Barcelona this year looks dangerous. Of course, they are bigger than us. But I think after these 3-4 big giants team, the first team who can compete, it's Inter. So I'm very hopeful about this Champions League. And this draw, the draw was not that bad, was not very good either. Like for example, we already before the tournament, we already knew that we had to play some big matches. We were already prepared. From pot 1, we got Man City, who I think is the best team of the world, and with Real Madrid, of course. And the second team from pot 1 might have been much worse than Leipzig. I think Leipzig was the best option from pot 1. So it's a kind of like good and bad together. Then pot 2 was very bad for us, of course, because the best 2 teams from pot 2 was Arsenal and Leverkusen and Atletico Madrid, and we got 2 out of those 3 teams. But pot 3 and pot 4, I think the main qualification will depend on these 2 pots, pot 3 and pot 4. This was, I have to say, that it was a lucky draw. Young Boys away, Red Star Belgrade at home at San Siro, so and Monaco at home, and the last match was Slavia Prague away match. So in this pot 3 and pot 4, we were lucky. And if we can win all these matches from pot 3 and pot 4 and make some points between pot and pot 2, we should be able to get one spot on top 8. I think I have made a calculation how many points you need to be on top eight. It's roughly 17 points. If you can get 17 points, which is very realistic in case of Inter, you can finish on top eight.
Right. Some of the other projections says you can even finish in the top eight with 14 to 15 points, which is very generous. So winning basically 5 matches out of the 8 will take you to top eight, or even winning 4 matches and drawing a few will take you there. I want to just give you two statistics. Under the old format, we had 96 games in the group stage to eliminate 16 teams when it was a 32 team format. So 16 teams were eliminated. Actually, not eliminated, 8 of them actually, sorry, 16 teams were eliminated. Out 8 of them went to UCL. UEFA so 8 of them were eliminated. So we got 96 games. Now we have to eliminate 12 teams, and for that we have 144 matches. So that's just matches for the sake of matches. You're not actually, enhancing anything in that form. Of course, there are the aroma or the thing that big teams will face. Big teams will have repeats of 4 of the past 5 finals. Real Madrid will face Borussia Dortmund and Liverpool. Manchester City will play Inter and Bayern, face Paris Saint-Germain. City meets PSG. So there are a lot of these marquee clashes. But the other thing is that if there are so many marquee clashes that happens in the group stage, the charm of that marquee clash that actually we used to face in the knockout rounds. So we knew when you are in the knockout rounds, you'll have to face a Liverpool or you have to face a Real Madrid. That charm is gone. You're not ensuring that, maybe, a team can still, go through. I mean, some of the, it's a very difficult, but it's still maybe an underdog team will go through. But it's very difficult to get those marquee clashes. If you have so many of those marquee clashes, I don't know. I mean, whether in a few years we will lose the charm of that clash altogether.
But this is what the big clubs wanted, and they have also like 30% more incentives than previous Champions Leagues.
Okay. Finally, one of the analysts teams, they have given their top 8 prediction based on ELO rating. ELO rating, as you know, is like basically how the teams have performed between each of them. Based on past performance, they are saying the top 8 teams are going to be Man City, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Inter, Atalanta, Arsenal, Borussia Dortmund, and Barcelona. I have major doubt. I have major doubts on at least 5 of these 8 teams. I'll not name who, but I don't think these are going to be your top 8 teams. There are
No, I agree with you.
There are bound to be a lot of changes in this, but that's how nobody knows. This is a new format. Teams are also, who knows who will get a bad round at a particular phase with injuries, and because they will be playing 2 extra matches, I don't know how that they will cope with that. But that's how it is. This is the UCL. Similar things for the UEFA Cup as well as the Conference League. We will have similar kind of teams for formats for that. So we will keep you updated with how it unfurls in the remaining season. For today, I hope you liked what we presented. That's it from my side, our side. Thank you all for joining us in this show. Thank you, Dada.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.